everyone. My name's Kylie. I'm a junior in GPhi, and to say in the briefest of terms, Greek Getaway was probably the best weekend of my life because so much happened for me. It was such a great change for me, and yeah, I'm just going to give you a little bit of my backstory and my journey of faith and what this weekend really did for me. So I grew up in a Christian household with a Christian family. I went to Christian school, and so I did grow up knowing God, but right when I was about to go into high school, I left private school, and that's when I started to really drift away from God. And over the years, I started living for the world and not for Christ, and the distance between me and God kept growing wider and wider and wider to the point where, like, I knew of Him, but I didn't really believe anymore. And throughout high school and the first couple years of college, I really struggled. I dealt a lot with anxiety, depression, and like this numbness in me that I didn't know how to really explain. And I tried to fill this emptiness with other things like alcohol. I had a pretty bad drinking problem for a couple of years that I didn't really share with anyone because I was really embarrassed about it. I come from a family of alcoholics, so didn't really want to tell anyone that. So it was a real struggle for me, and that just kept pulling me away from God. And earlier this year, I did attempt to take my own life, and it didn't work. And I was very confused why it didn't work, because I really, really tried, and I don't know what happened, but now reflecting on it, I kind of have a better understanding of why it didn't go through. And so even after that, there was this emptiness in me that I didn't know how to explain. I had multiple therapists tell me it's just all in your head. You just kind of have to forget about it. And like, I just felt like I was crazy for a long time, and I just didn't really feel understood. And so I just didn't know what to do at that point. I felt like I was at a breaking point, and now that I'm looking back on it, I realized that emptiness was my soul longing for God. And over this past summer, I started gaining an interest of going back into Christianity. I started wanting to get to know God better and to actually have a relationship with Him. And so I bought my own Bible, I started reading it, I started studying it, I started listening to worship music more. I even tried to change my vocabulary without cussing, and I just was trying to leave old bad habits behind. And I also chose sobriety in June, and it's worked. I've been sober since June, which has been really hard, especially coming back to USC. It was really hard, especially coming back here to USC, because a lot of my friends or my environment, they just don't align with the Christian lifestyle, and so I knew there was a lot of temptations, and I didn't know how to navigate that or I didn't know how to navigate that at all. And so it just felt like being a Christian at USC was a no-win situation. But then my friend Waverly invited me to GPhi. I had never heard of it before, but I was very excited for it, and for the first time in a very long time, it felt like I wasn't so alone on my faith journey. And so a couple weeks into it, I signed up for the Greek Getaway trip in Catalina, and I was really excited for it, especially because I heard they were doing baptisms, and for some reason I just felt a strange pull to it, and that God was saying, this is your moment, choose me. And so I signed up to get baptized. Even though I was baptized as a baby, it felt like now this was my decision. And so I decided to sign up. I talked to my parents about it. I talked about it with Ken. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This was my time, and I'm going to share my faith with that. And so the morning of my baptism, I woke up very anxious and doubtful, and I just didn't feel worthy. I questioned myself whether I really belonged here or not, and I almost backed out completely. And then during the retreat of solitude time, I was sitting by the water, very cold that morning. It was very gloomy. And I prayed that God would make Himself known to me and fill me with His grace. And suddenly I felt this warmth in my chest. It was very peaceful and comforting, and it just washed over me and my entire body. And I knew that God was right there with me. And I had never experienced anything like that before, and I still feel it in my chest because I'm like, it's just such a surreal feeling. Like once you feel it, it's not going away. So it was really amazing. And so later that day, when I went into the water for my baptism, every fear and hesitation still clung to me. But the moment I came up from the water, everything changed. I felt renewed, I felt loved, and I felt free. That weight that I was carrying before, the shame, the loneliness, the heaviness, it was all lifted for me. And I knew I had come back home at that point, which was such a surreal feeling. Thank you, Waverly, for being there with me. This would not have happened without you, so I really, really thank you for that. And suddenly, I understood why God didn't let me die that night earlier this year. Not because I was lucky or that I deserved another chance, but because God's grace is just much bigger than my brokenness. And He wasn't done with me. He had a purpose for me long before I could even see it. And He saved me because He loves me deeply and patiently. Since then, my life wasn't magically perfect, obviously. I still struggle with a lot of things and breaking bad habits. But the difference now is that I know that I'm not walking it alone. When I feel anxious or tempted or weak, I go to God. He is my strength. He restored my hope, my identity, and my purpose. And I'm learning each and every day, and He meets me each and every day with grace. Even when I ran, He never left me. Even when I doubted, He waited for me. And today I stand here not because I am strong, but because God is my Redeemer. I once felt empty and lost, and now I feel whole. I once wanted to end my life, and now I know God has given me a new one. One with meaning, with faith, and with love. Giving my life to Christ has been the best decision I have ever made, and I am so, so grateful that He never gave up on me. And this would not have happened without GPhi being Greek Getaway. So thank you.